Today on the Region Free Gamers podcast, we boldly go where we've gone approximately every 6 years for the past 50 years. Hello everyone, welcome to the Region Free Gamers podcast, the podcast fluent in gaming. With me today out of Rhode Island, Arnaldo Perez.
What?
And out of Utrecht in the Netherlands, Geoff Ivats.
Yo.
And out of the Bronx, New York, Anthony Arriaga.
Brix. Long time listener, first time caller.
All right, everyone. Today, the topic is the one that is dominating the headlines and our social media feeds, which is why I haven't been looking at Instagram now for like a week. We are now in the next generation of gaming consoles, guys. Congratulations.
Officially.
We made it.
Party poppers.
I thought it was the Nintendo Game & Watch. Are we not talking about that? No?
That is their contribution to the next generation.
That
is
Game
the
&
hardest to find
Watch.
Did
console
you
at
think
this
when you were a
time.
young man that you would ever see a Nintendo Game & Watch in full color? I don't think you did.
Nah, man, it's 2020, baby.
30 years of engineering have led to this moment.
Man,
It's
that
amazing
is...
how fast we all forgot about the new consoles when that drops and all the collectors put that on IG. They get new consoles. It's all about the Game & Watch for the whole week.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it, man.
Liberals.
Like, it's not that I couldn't believe it. It's just like that thing. It's cute, right? Like, I would like to have one.
Yeah.
But it is the novelty of novelties, really. Like, nobody's gonna use it for. Nobody's gonna sit there and play Super Mario Brothers on their Game & Watch. Am I wrong? Like, who's gonna actually do that?
Yeah. But I think it's a clock, too. I think it, like, functions as some sort of...
clock,
too?
Yeah,
Holy
That's
shit,
what
man!
I'm saying. I'm like, whoa! Now
What's
I have an alarm clock.
I know, dude. I have no idea what time it is right now. Thank God, I have to run to the store and get that Game & Watch, man. And we've just like lost all our listeners now who bought a Game & Watch.
I hope there's an alarm setting where he just wakes you up and like, let's go! Oh, like, yes.
I think I'll just save the money and do that on my phone.
Yeah, I was talking about this on the Discord too, because I felt sort of the same way, but man, if Nintendo does not fucking deliver on the packaging and the form factor, and it looks so cool. Like, it really does.
It does.
Honestly,
it does.
as useless as it is, I'm like,
It does.
it
It's
just
nice.
looks cool.
I know. It's one of those things, like, because I don't have it, I'm going to talk shit about it, obviously, right? And I don't
of
think
course.
I'm going to buy it, so I'll just continue to. But if I actually had it, I'd be like, "Oh, look at this thing! It has an alarm."
But patrons should be excited that we have pooled their money into buying a controlling share of N-Gage. So we'll be releasing the touchscreen N-Gage soon, and that'll be exciting.
Man, it has been a
Spoilers.
long time since we shouted out the N-Gage. It felt like we were doing that every episode for a while.
Yeah, it was for a while.
Anyhow, guys, before we get started, I just want to welcome our newest Region Free tier patron, Andrew. Man, we totally appreciate your support of the show, and we also appreciate everyone else who is listening. If you want to chip into the show, you can visit us at patreon.com/regionfreegamers, or if you want to help out in a way that doesn't make your wallet lighter, then we humbly request that you leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice. 5 stars, please. And guys, Anthony, tell me about that PlayStation 5.
All right. Well, I'll have to talk to UPS about that one.
It's funny
UPS did the whole. UPS did the whole.
I'm sorry, dude.
You know those
That's so
videos. You know those videos where they have like it's like they'll show you how UPS delivers, how FedEx delivers, and this and that. And I'm here to tell you that when UPS shows up in those videos, it's a lie. They don't show up. They don't come through. And they'll send you a message it's like getting a booty call and then having them cancel at the last minute,
Dude,
like
nothing so frustrating. Oh my God. I mean, not like obviously. I don't know.
No. I mean, I'm speaking
You're
for
right,
a friend.
hypothetically
For a friend.
speaking.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I assume.
It is interesting to me because I feel like you were all set to get this PlayStation to talk about and compare to the Xbox and all this stuff, but by not getting it, I feel like now it's made the show even more relatable. Because I feel like this is a more relatable experience to people, is not getting their shit on time.
This is it. This is what we're all about. The human experience.
And I've got a question for you. When you said those videos where they show people delivering shit, I have no idea what you're talking about. Did you only start watching those videos when UPS didn't show up?
It's funny, they post them up, like it's been really during the pandemic, they'll show like how a guy from Amazon delivers and he'll deliver it, and then they'll show FedEx, and I think FedEx just like charges into your house and starts beating you up. Like they don't even care about your package. And then they have the UPS guy just come and like toss it, and I'm like, that's a lie. They don't have anything to toss. They just go back to their base.
Yeah, it's all a big scam. They're the.
I had one time I was supposed to get a delivery. They have like the live delivery when you open up the app for UPS, and it'll show you where it's like over here. It's a few blocks away. I had it one time. It was literally like 3 apartments down, and then it just like delivering tomorrow. It just decided to just leave, like didn't deliver.
He's like, I'm done.
Yeah, like union rules, gotta go.
Chasing down the street.
I anxiously await like the next level of live delivery where like they either strap a body cam onto like UPS truck drivers or they put a camera in the truck or something so you can actually see like where'd this motherfucker go? Like did he actually come to my house?
Yeah.
So I sent you guys the tracking info when it said the business was closed. And I'm like, but I'm not a business. I'm a home. I'm here. Knock on my door.
Anyhow, that's too bad because we were all set to have, because none of the rest of us managed to snag a PS5, whether through lack of trying or through trying and failing. I tried
Poor
like
Ozzy.
kind of, half-assed back when the pre-orders first became available. It was actually the second wave of pre-orders that I gave it a shot. And I was like, well, this isn't going to work for me.
It's funny because I ordered the PS5 before the Xbox. And the only reason I got the PS5 was because a friend of mine, I was texting him and he just sent me a screenshot of his order from Walmart. Remember they did that surprise pre-order thing?
Yeah.
So
I was like, we all love that.
So I jumped on my So I jumped on my laptop and I'm like, I was able to get that order in, and I was shocked. I was like, I can't believe I actually got this.
Yeah.
And I'm still.
I didn't even put myself through that emotional roller coaster.
Really? Not you, Arnie? Really? Wow.
Yeah. No. Surprisingly. I'll be getting my new Game & Watch shortly. That'll be delivered any day now.
That'll be the one.
That's the system we're here to really talk about, people. Surprise. Game & Watch. Yeah, Ozzy was having a rough day of it. What was it, like Thursday?
Well, it was that. I think it was
so.
like
I think
Thursday or Wednesday, where they did like the 3 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, the 9 o'clock, the 12 o'clock rock.
We were getting alerts like, all right, guys, here it goes, going in every 3 hours.
Dude, honestly, you know what the other thing too is, and I mean, I guess we might as well just kind of like get started with the flow of the show here. Like, I personally was planning on getting one at launch, right? Mm-hmm. Eventually, I just kind of got convinced. It's that I really want the giant white box. Like, it was just very, very appealing to have that gigantic thing in my living room. And I just like. You know what turns me off is these situations where I don't know if they're doing this kind of scarcity on purpose to generate hype, or if they just legitimately were unable to manufacture enough consoles, whether it's due to COVID or due to their own incompetence or what have you, right? But as soon as I feel like pressured to buy the console and it becomes kind of like a difficult experience, then I'm just like, nah, fuck it. I'll just wait till next year. My backlog is gigantic, right?
Yeah.
Anthony, for you it was
Yeah.
different because you just got a screenshot, you went on, you ordered, and it's like all well and good, right? But man, as soon as this stuff becomes
I wasn't losing sleep.
yeah. So yeah, for me, it just this kind of forced, whether by on accident or on purpose, it just really turns me off, man. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
I will say I've seen a lot of people that, like, I guess were trying to get it and couldn't get it, and their whole argument now is, well, you never want to get the first batch of stuff anyway.
Yeah, I know.
I think the last console I got on launch day was the 360. I think that's the last one I got. And
Really? Wow.
yeah. And it really was like, and that one was because I was still in that mode of like, I want to play it and experience it like firsthand. But ever since then, I've really been very like blah on the whole pre-order, like get online, do your shit, situation. I know that eventually, whether it's a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, I'll be able to walk in and see a pile of these sitting on a shelf that I can pick up, take home. You know, like
Exactly.
I'm not worried that this will be hard to find.
Yeah. I mean, some of it, at least for me, trying to get it on day one is just more of a fun thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I need it, but it's just more like, oh, cool. Like, I'm not on Instagram posting about this stuff.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's funny
Thank you for that, by the way.
I thought that being on Instagram would have that sort of effect on me, where it's like, oh, I see it all the time, like I really want it, but it's kind of had the opposite, where it's like I just live vicariously through everyone else, and I'm like, I don't have it, but I know everything that comes in it. I know all the nice little touches they've put in the box. I know what it looks like. It feels really nice.
Besides, you never want to get the first batch anyway. There's always bugs and issues.
Yeah, exactly, man. That first batch, like, fuck, it's a paperweight, really. Honestly,
that's all it is.
It's a fire hazard waiting to happen, right?
Yes, exactly.
Whether
safer
by
not
vape
owning
or
it.
electricity.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Some people.
Oh man, that tweet from Xbox was great. I didn't realize we'd have to explain this, but please don't vape into your system.
That is one thing that I am noticing about this generation in particular, and Anthony will be able to confirm it in person. But these boxes look gigantic, especially the PS5 one.
Huge,
enormous.
So
Huge.
By comparison, like they'll send you the weight. You know, like when the box is coming, it'll tell you on the tracking info the weight, right? And so, give you a comparison.
You're such an
Xbox,
expert.
I know, right? This is terrible, but this is the life I live now, right? So a buddy of mine got the Xbox at the Series S.
Yeah.
And 7 pounds, right?
Okay.
The PS4, it looks like it's about 16 pounds.
Jesus Christ.
And the Xbox is about the same thing, about 16 pounds.
Wow.
Except now that I have the Xbox, the packaging for the Xbox is way smaller than the PS5 packaging, though. So there's a lot of weight in a small package. Yeah, it's like it's all that
this
tech. Little
dense.
Yeah. They densed it up, baby.
I've definitely seen like a lot of like, stop me if you've seen this Instagram post before, where it's like somebody showing like their little like four slot IKEA shelf, and like basically their PS5 like diagonally sort of shoved in there because it won't fit.
Man.
No, I haven't seen that one actually. That's so funny.
Oh my god!
Yeah, we'll get more into this, but it's funny, man. I'm looking at my Xbox now, and it's so simple, but yet so easy to figure out where you want to put it.
Yeah,
you know, as big as it may look, it's still a lot easier to figure out.
Yeah,
this PS5, there's nothing made to hold this thing unless you have like some sort of wall mount for it or something, and you can't hide it. You know, like you can't. So,
and I don't know why I'm surprised, because PlayStation has never once tried to make things small and compact. Like, from the PS3 onward, I think they were always like, this is the really fat, annoying version of it. Wait for the skinny version like 2 years from now.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Geoff.
That's all right. No, but I felt like when it was all shown and this is a design, the best word I can think of is obnoxious. Yeah. It's just like, you want me to put this in my living room. It's like, I don't even know if I could get that through the front door without my wife like refusing to allow it into the living room first, let alone me looking at it going, this is out of place everywhere. Yeah. It's great if you've got a gaming room and you just put it with all the other machines, but when you're sharing space with people, it's a really, it just feels a bit obnoxious. And I think that's why I did, one of the reasons why I didn't pre-order a PlayStation 5. I've done all of that. I did the GameCube. That was my last launch day console. GameCube. And it's not that I don't like the idea of the stress. Like, I've had quite a few games in the last 5 or so years that I've been hounding all the internet websites to get a copy of something to only be let down. So I've gone through all of that roller coaster. Yeah. But I'm definitely part of the group of first batch is always faulty. So, let other people suffer and you just kind of I'm not that salty. I'm not that salty. But also really, like, when I see what people are playing on their PS5s or their Xboxes, at the moment, I'm like, I can mostly get that experience now on the console I've got in my apartment today. I know it doesn't have ray tracing. I know it loads a little bit slower, but I can play Spider-Man. I can play Call of Duty. I can play Demon's Souls. Okay, it's not the remake, but I can still play Demon's Souls. Like, there's nothing there that had ever made me go, launch day, I need it because I need that experience.
Yeah.
That's like my serious answer, I guess.
No, this is what made me pre-order a Switch. Like, number one, it was super easy. I walked into a store and I pre-ordered it, and that was that. And number two, it had Zelda, right? So yeah, and also 1-2 Switch. Like, let's not sleep on 1-2
Let's
Switch.
not forget
HD Rumble, baby.
Ice cubes.
Oh man. So, like, on that then, like, Anthony, what has been... So you've had the Xbox Series X, and like, obviously, we're not going to get your experience with the PS5 today, but that's okay. What have you played on the Xbox, and have you noticed a huge difference? Or a difference, really?
So I got Assassin's Creed, NBA 2K, Yakuza, and what else did I get? Valhalla.
You've already forgotten.
I guess that's it.
Jesus Christ, man. You are not like an excited child. You're like, yeah, whatever. I just got an Xbox. Who cares?
It's pretty early, Paul. I know how you're functioning right now, man.
I really enjoy being on the West Coast and being on a high horse in terms of like how early we record, because you guys are like, oh my god, it's 8:00. Oh dear God. And for me,
you already know
it's 6 over here, so I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
Wait, you get to see what the future's like,
Time out here. Because let's not pretend like you're not ingesting the like generic equivalent of a speedball before we start recording every single time.
That's right. C4 explosive workout energy. They gotta sponsor dude. I gotta contact them and just say, hey guys, none of us work out. We're terribly out of shape, but your product is really carrying this show. Anyhow, Anthony, you were saying about the games.
Yeah, so these are the 3 games that I've like just put some time into it. The thing with like Geoff said, like if you haven't messed around with this next gen stuff, you're gonna be perfectly fine. Yeah. Once you do, though, it's going to be hard to go back. The quality of life aspect to me is the biggest thing that I noticed out the gate. And I wish I could have, really, compared this to the PS5, not to disparage the PS5 or anything, but I just wanted to see what the differences were in just setting up, Yeah, I'll tell you, the initial setup to me on the Xbox was amazing. Anybody that's ever had an iPhone, it's comparative to that. It was so simple.
Like
if
straight
you got
out the
app,
box, you're good to go, pretty much.
But,
basically.
but that's only because you already have an Xbox Series, Xbox One, right? So it was just transferable or not?
Yeah. Like if you have the app, you log into the app, you match the code with the prompt on the screen, and it sets you up. And then it'll tell you, hey, you have these other Xboxes on your online right now. Which one do you want to copy? Which profile? You select the one. And it says it's done. That's it. You're on. That was it.
Yeah, that's nice.
There was no more to it. It didn't go downloading all the games you had on your previous system, but that wouldn't make much sense anyway because it doesn't mean you're gonna want to download those same games. So regardless, you're good to go. Out the gate. So the first game I popped in though, and the only reason I popped this game in was because I have it on the Xbox One.
Okay.
So and that's NBA 2K. I wanted to kind of see what the difference was. NBA 2K on the Xbox One and everything you've read about it, it's not a fun game to play.
Really?
It's not fun at all. It looks great, but it's a little choppy. It's hard to it's not fun.
Really?
It's hard to shoot. Yeah, shooting is I would play the game and it was almost like, and this is something that's kind of extra that you want to get into when you're really deep into the game, but you have to start calling plays in order to get people open and stuff. This is something I had to do from the outset, and it was a lot. Wow. It's a lot. It was a lot to process.
Oh, okay.
So I played on the Xbox, and I played on the X series. It is a completely different game.
Really,
it is so much better. Yeah, it's actually fun. Like it's so good. Like the animations are better. It moves smoother. The shooting mechanics. It's almost like the stuff that they couldn't do on the last gen. They were able to incorporate it into this one. So that was the first comparison that I had where I was like, wow. Yeah. Okay. So
wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah, mechanics wise, and I'm sure this will be the same for the PS5 version as well. I don't think that's any different. But mechanics wise, they're able to do a lot more with sports games, it seems.
You see, I would have just presumed it's just like a technical performance, just it runs a bit smoother, the animation's a bit better. But if you're talking about actual proper technical improvements,
the shooting, because I would play on the on the Xbox One.
It's going to be difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be.
The Xbox, the One X, which is the Pro. The One X is the Pro, right?
The Xbox One X is the Pro. It's the Pro model.
But you don't have the Pro model. You just had the One.
No,
so you're comparing the One.
He had the One X, and he has the Series X.
So it's like, it's like comparing the PS4 Pro to a PS5 is what you're doing right now.
Pretty much.
Basically, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, that's good. We have a good translation. We have a good translation base. All right, that's good. But anyway, man, it's crazy that something like that, like we're all just like, oh, do these games look better? Do they, why should I buy this game? This and that. That to me was a big turning point. I was just like, wow, like this is a completely different game to play. I was actually scoring.
One thing I noticed, and I wanted to ask you about this because this was something that I was really intrigued by, was the speed. Like I saw somebody go watch this and essentially turn the Xbox on from their controller, and the dashboard popped up within 2 seconds. It was there.
It's
on your TV.
It's seamless.
It's SSD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That kind of stuff actually interests me. The speed at which it loads, the speed at which it gets you from one menu to another, transitioning.
It's essentially a gaming PC, right? Yeah. It's instant access. As long as you've got the operating system on a solid state drive, these things run ridiculously fast. It's
ridiculous. I mean, it's everything up until now has been on paper, right? Mm-hmm. So it's whatever, let's see what this thing does. But I can tell you for a fact, it actually makes me want to play more. I'm actually more yo, this isn't going to take a while to load. I'm I'm in, let me just do this. And there's also that plus what is it called? The quick resume. The quick resume feature. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Yeah.
I was just popping in and out of each game just yesterday. Just pop play some NBA 2K. All right, let me go see let me jump into Yakuza. All right, cool. Play Yakuza. Jump right out. And every time you pop back into the game, you're popping in right where you left off.
Really? For multiple games?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
As long as the game's installed on the console, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So, and maybe a bit too early to answer this, but do you see that as a like a true game changer, or is it just a nice to have quality of life improvement for now?
No, it's a game changer and a huge quality of life improvement. Like, I think it's something that's going to make me more excited to play a game, because I don't have to go through all these load times. I don't, if I'm playing a game, if I don't want to play this game anymore, if I want to just take a break, I don't have to like do anything. I just select the game and just jump right in.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny, like on paper, I never really expected this to be a huge feature, right? Like, I can go from one game to another. This feels like it's just catering to people with ADD, right? But I don't know, man. Like, the thing about the Switch that I loved immediately, Arnie's raising his hand. The thing that I loved about the Switch is that I could just turn it on and virtually immediately resume a game.
Beautiful.
So, like, why wouldn't this feature on the Xbox be great? It makes perfect sense.
And that's the first thing I thought about last night. I was like, oh man, this is just like on the Switch. And I'm like, wow, so the Switch was able to do this before they were able to do, any other console was able to do this? You know, like they had the initial idea. But it's very much like equivalent to like what you would get on the Switch, where you got the game in, just jump to this other game. But
now,
jump back
I guess, now you don't need to close a game to go to another game.
That's the big difference.
Just stays.
Right. Yeah. You're not closing the game. You're basically just jumping right in when you want to.
Yeah. As far as like when you pop a new game in, what is the, like, does it have to download like a giant thing? Does that take forever? Like, what's the process of like starting a new game?
It's still like initially out the gate, you pop the disc in, it's still doing the install.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, I haven't seen a difference in time frame. Okay. Like, it still takes as long. Okay. I would assume that would also have to do with your internet speed appropriately, like downloading whatever. But I think we've gotten so used to that, though, that I know for me, I'm just like, all right, just going to pop this game in and, you know, whatever.
Make a pot of coffee. Like,
I'll never become used to it.
I've just succumbed to it. I'm not happy about it, but I know, like, all right, I'm going to pop this game in and go walk the dog. Or I'm going to pop this game in and play my Switch.
That literally has happened to me before, where I put a PS4 game in and it has the gigantic download, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm just going to go play my Switch. And then I just end up not playing the fucking game on the PS4 because, you know, it doesn't respect my time. Anyway, but that's an old complaint, man. That's an old man complaint. We all have it. Yeah. And anyway,
back in my day.
What about the other games? All
right, so Yakuza, pop that in. It's Yakuza. It's so freaking good. It's so smooth, man. Like, there's no just like even between the cinematics or just the like, it just, there's no pause or anything. It just flies right through. There's no okay, this ended, now the gameplay starts. No, it's just full straight through. So it's so seamless. Like, you're not even noticing. You're like, I was holding the controller and I'm just, you know, watching the intro and everything, and I'm like, oh, cool. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, wait, I have to play. Oh, okay. You know, there's no load or pause between each thing, you know, so it's going to make, from just looking at that, like, the storytelling of the games is going to be a lot better to show on these systems because there's no pause now. You know, you're not loading up a screen. Yeah. So.
Yeah, this is what it is now. Every subsequent generation is like shaving off milliseconds of time between like every little thing.
But the problem I've got with that is where am I going to get my hint screen? Where do I get my hints from now? How do I know how to open up my item box if I don't have that load screen hint box?
When am I going to stop to drink my water or my soda, Anthony, if not on my load screen?
This is true. Yeah. We'll have to figure something out, man. I'm scared.
My poor phone is going to go unchecked.
I was like, no problem. I'm just going to stick with my PS4. I'm good. I need my breaks.
Some of those breaks, though, man. I'll never forget when I first got Final Fantasy 15 and the load times were like well over a minute. I was like, what is going on here? Like, this is worse than the PlayStation 1. I never expected that to happen. So I I, for one, could not be more excited about this new world of no load times. That's a huge selling feature for me. Not a day one purchase feature, but
yeah, I wonder. I wonder if like it's day one and it's having this seamless transition with like the games that are not current, like they're not fully current gen. So, like, as the games start getting bigger and bigger, if we're going to go back to loading times again.
That's what I was just about to say is, like, I wonder how much of this is just, like, people don't, like, nobody's optimized for it yet, right? So nobody can come along and be like, I'm going to make this so insanely, like, graphically impressive that it's going to take, like, 5 minutes to load every screen or something. Like, where's the crisis for Xbox Series X or something?
All right, guys. Well, let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we will talk about what we kind of expect from the next gen and Microsoft's role in it. All right, everyone, we're back. And so now we're going to have a quick discussion on what I think is probably the most interesting situation going into this next generation, and that is Microsoft's role in it. So this last gen, you know, it's pretty safe to say that Sony and the PlayStation dominated it. I think they outsold Microsoft 2-1, if not more. It reached the point where Microsoft was no longer even releasing sales numbers for their system. You know, they were like, well, you know, you don't want to get the first batch anyway. It might break down, and they were doing that whole thing. So what will Microsoft have to do at this point to regain their share of the pie? Geoff, let's start with you. What do you think?
What Microsoft have to do? I think they've been doing a good job already at just not shooting themselves in the foot from a marketing perspective. Mm-hmm. They've allowed the console to speak for itself. They've allowed the technical abilities to come across. Obviously, we can then discuss, is that something that really I want from a next gen? But at least you know what you're getting with the console. Avoiding the blunder of the last gen, I think we discussed this quite a while ago, that combination of how the games were going to be tied to the console and you couldn't resell it, and that whole kind of people going crazy because you couldn't share games and what have you. They've just done themselves a massive favor by keeping their mouth shut. It seems to me that we've, like, time heals all wounds, right? Mm-hmm. And I just get this sense that from the gamers that I know, not collectors, but people who just play modern games, they're more than happy to give Microsoft another chance. Because it's like the console, or Microsoft has said, you're going to have access to all this whole library. And for people like myself who've missed out on a generation and a bit, that's a massive pull factor because it so much is accessible. So I think that's all they had to do. And that's what they've managed to do. Whereas Sony, I feel that they're on that path of taking their fan base or their user base for granted a bit. Yeah. Just a little bit. Whereas Microsoft are just giving people what they want, which is basically a gaming PC Lite. Yeah, yeah.
Do we is this just the inevitable part of the cycle? Because the only time that I can remember going from one generation to the next where the same player was the dominant player was from the PlayStation 1 to the PlayStation 2. That was the only time. Every other cycle of, game consoles that we've had, people seem to me like they've just kind of been attracted to the new thing. Is that, Anthony, what do you think? Is that what's happening here, or is it more Microsoft's fault and not necessarily people being fickle?
I think, I've been thinking about this. I wonder because, number one, we live in a society where our attention spans for everybody is just they can't. They just can't stick to one thing.
Oh, dude, I'm barely listening to you right now.
Wait, who are you? Who's this? So, but the console manufacturers have done a great job of like just setting themselves up for failure on the next console cycle. It always seems to be the case. It's like I don't understand it. It's almost like trying to repeat a championship in a sport. It's so hard to do apparently the following year, you know? So, but I think that Microsoft's messaging, like Geoff mentioned, it's like been the key as to why people have been listening. Cause I've seen a lot of PlayStation, even fanboys are like, wait a minute, this sounds, let me come over here. Let me listen to this for a little bit, you know? Because Sony's messaging has been very just like they haven't been very clear. There's been no clarity. Yeah. And even up until the launch of the console, you weren't even aware. A lot of things you weren't aware of. And I think about Microsoft kind of setting themselves up 2 years ago, right? Basically about 2 years ago to tell you this is what the console basically looks like and this is what we're going to do. It's giving people time to just kind of absorb it, process it, and just kind of be like, oh, okay. And as they've been delivering more on that messaging by giving you more information on it as opposed to just dropping it all on your lap the first day, it's giving people a chance to kind of get used to the idea. And now here we are. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, man, I hope the PS5 is the same in terms of content because I can't go back to not having this.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the main things, and I think one of the main things with the Xbox One was that DRM, like digital thing where it has to be online all the time, this and that. I've been noticing that that's actually a feature that seems to be on the Xbox X.
Yeah.
So I've put discs in, it's installed. I pop the disc out. I'm still able to play that disc.
Yeah.
Installed game. But as long as your console is like, there's a feature in it that you have to make it like your main console under your account.
Yeah.
If you make it the main console under your account, you're able to play some of these games that you don't even have to have the disc in anymore, as long as it's also online. So again, so it's a cool feature. They didn't really go crazy announcing it. It doesn't mean that your disc isn't worth anything anymore. It just means that if you want to play that game, you just got to be online.
Yeah. Well, we threw rocks at them last time they tried to announce something like this.
Exactly.
It wasn't the same. It wasn't the exact same, but I feel like they finally got it, right? Like they were like 2-3 years ago, they were like, we're going to have an all digital console. People were like, what the fuck? Get the fuck out of here. And now we're like, maybe there's so much shit on my wall and like, I don't want to deal with it anymore. Like, Nintendo had to do it with the Switch Lite and then Sony fucking did the same thing. And now it's like, everybody's doing it. We're fine now. It's all good.
But that's smart of them, man. Like, just don't even talk about it. Just don't even say anything because there is a chance that somebody will misinterpret what the message is, and then it's over, right? Because people by and large, myself included, we're all idiots. We misunderstand shit all the time. And sorry, I don't mean to paint you guys that way. Like, I'm just speaking for myself here. Sorry.
I don't mean to cut them slack.
Like, why even mention it?
I'm sure the plan they had at the time when they mentioned it was worse than what we have now. So I'm not saying that they didn't deserve to get, yelled at a little bit. So at least they didn't go whole hog in like doing the most restrictive, crazy thing they could have done. I prefer they take sort of baby steps and then we sort of whack the newspaper at them when they come too far.
But I like that. I like the fact that like, so as long as my console is my main home console, and as long as I'm connected to the Xbox Live, I'll be able to play any game that I bought that's installed on my console, digital or physical. Yeah, that's great. That makes my quality of life even more better, better, more betters,
the betterest.
and like I said, and like the quick that makes that quick resume feature even more of a thing because now it's like I don't have.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking
at all.
Yeah, that makes the quick resume, like for people who like buying the physical versions.
Yeah. I was going to say space-wise, like what is, like, do you feel like you have enough space for like a good amount of games to be installed on the thing at once, or are you already feeling it like sort of get cramped in there?
No, I mean, that was shocking to me that they both came out with 1 terabyte systems. I out the gate it was going to be at least 2. You know, like just that was the standard. But the 1 terabyte, I mean, you're figuring at most some of these games are like 100 gigs, right? Yeah. Some of these big games. So you got about, 10 games that you could put on there if they were all 100 gigs. Yeah. Which, to me, back in the day, 10 games on my console that are right there, easy to play. Oh, that's all I need. But that's never enough anymore for us.
I know. How times have changed. Yeah. How times have changed, man.
But still.
Only 10 games? Get out of here.
Had the same conversation with Hannah the other day about my first MP3 player and how the 256 megabytes of data was more than enough that I needed for all my 17 tracks.
Yeah.
But
listening to compressed ass like ringtone quality music, like fuck yeah, dude.
Good times. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's the same that we always had with. I think we've been able to manage over the past decade in terms of just external storage and whatnot for our consoles. So I don't really see that being a deal breaker for anybody because both consoles are on even ground in that regard in terms of that. So it is what it is. That's just life now. But yeah, I mean, I don't see like if I could, but I really appreciate the fact that if I could have like 5, I mean, I think the quick resume only gives you a cap. I think it's like 5 games or something. So to me, if I could jump in and out of those. Good. No, I'm saying that if it's 5 games that I could jump in and out and they're physical copies that are now on my hard drive, like I'm good to go, man. That's great.
Yeah, that's bonkers. That's insane. Arnie, what do you think about Microsoft and their first gen titles? Like, are we finally? Sorry, not first gen, first party. Are we finally coming back here? Like, because to me that was kind of their big failing last gen was they just didn't have the exclusives necessary.
Yeah, I think that they're doing a much better job of I mean. All being hypothetical because I think most of their first party stuff we won't even see until next year. But as far as announcing stuff, like being sort of this is what we're working on, these are the studios that we're working with, like we're bringing some exclusive stuff to the Xbox. I think they've done a much better job in that sense of like just communicating it. So on that end, I think they're doing well and sort of bridging the gap between now and when we get to the point where they have like a significant amount of exclusives. I think they're doing a good job with stuff like Game Pass and like we've been talking about, just giving people what they want, right? Just giving them those little quality of life things where it's like, buy it now. There may not be a whole slew of exclusives right now, but you're going to have all these amazing features that you're really going to enjoy playing your games on. And then next year, we're really going to hit you hard with all the stuff we've been working on. And I think that's the right game plan. I think the sports analogy sort of works, Anthony, to do the why can't these companies just sort of make it from year to year to year and just stay on top. And I think it's like when you're the top dog, the only place you can go is down. Yeah. There's no first place beyond the first place, right? So I think some people get overconfident. I think sometimes it's fan fatigue of just like, I've already experienced this. Let me sort of dip my toe in this other pool. But, I think that when you're not on top, you have a lot more incentive to try new things out, to sort of take a little bit more risk, because there is reward for you on that end. When you're already the top guy, it's like, if we fuck this up, like there's nowhere else for us to go.
Sony's already number one. So they already got that fan base.
Yeah.
If I don't know how these features work across, I don't know how they work on the PS5, whatever. But assuming, let's just say the PS5 doesn't have any of these features, they can easily incorporate this.
Yeah.
Within a patch within the next few months before any of the big games come out. So, by next year, we could be looking at both consoles having the exact same feature set, regardless of what's available now. But it'll come down as always to the games that are coming out next year. So next year will be the telling point as to what's going to happen, how they're going to manage this generation.
Yeah, and I think you're already seeing that, like, with the price, right? Like, Xbox announced their price, and then we were all sort of speculating that Sony would maybe come in a little bit higher. but they sort of, I think they bit the bullet on that one and sort of ate a little bit of that to come in right where Xbox is, because I think they knew if we come in $100 more expensive, it's really going to eat into our market share, into our player base at that point.
Yeah.
They remember the PS3 too much.
Yes, exactly. I don't think anybody expected the Series X to be getting this much love. So it's doubly important that they didn't price themselves higher, just because like it'd be one thing if it was, if there was no hype for Microsoft's new console, it's like, we can price ourselves higher, whatever. But now that we're seeing the reality, which is that both the systems right now are very hot on the market, oh boy, very, very good thing that they didn't go higher. Have you guys talked to anybody who's used the payment plan, the $40 a month or whatever it is to buy the new Xbox?
All access.
I have not, but that was another thing I remember that I was really intrigued by. The fact that they did it 0 interest, that it's
Huge.
it seems very affordable. That it really, I think when you do that, you get access to Game Pass, don't you?
It comes with Game Pass included in that price, but it's like you're not paying anything more than that. You're just paying for Game Pass and the console,
which is nuts.
And I think that's going to be more readily available once the consoles are on the shelves. Yeah, because I've gone in to see if that's available, and if they're sold out, you can't even try it. But I think once they're on the shelves more, you'll be able to go in. I think you have to get approved. It's like a bank, like almost like a credit card, basically. You get approved, and then you're good to go. But that's another feature thing that, talk about getting the hardware into the homes. Anybody could do it like that.
It's amazing that they're doing it, like I said, 0 interest, because it sort of is like, it's very much Microsoft just being like, take it, put it in your house, like pay me whenever you can, like just take this, because I know once I give you this first hit, I've got you now, like I've got you on the hook, and I could now you're stuck with me forever. Like,
it's that heroin dealer. Microsoft is that heroin dealer.
And I think that's good. I think that's a good strategy,
I think it's brilliant. Arnie, are you going, because you're the most famously frugal out of all of us. Like, is that something that will interest you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think that's how I'm going to purchase it, because aside from being famously frugal, I'm also famously irresponsible. So I'd rather just give them all the money up front than miss my payment and have somebody repo my Xbox Series S.
I almost want to see what that's like.
I know.
I know, right? Who shows up at the door? Is it some angry incel who shows up and like demands your
UPS won't show up to take it back.
If they send UPS, you're fine.
They'll never show up. I'll be like, you sending UPS? Oh, I'm good then. I ain't got to give you shit anymore.
It's Bill and Melinda show up. They're like, we are very disappointed in you. Please return my console.
I'm trying to cure all kinds of diseases here, guys. You're killing me. Geoff, what about you, man? Like, okay, first of all, do they have the payment plan available where you live?
I haven't paid attention to this stuff, Mm-hmm. It does sound intriguing. I mean, I very quickly decided not to get these consoles at launch, so I just haven't bought into any of the marketing ploy that they've tried to do to get me to buy one. So yeah, it does. I think it is a great idea from Microsoft. I think you're right, Arnie. Once people have got this in their homes, I think that's it. I think they'll be like, right, this is my console unless the PlayStation really has an exclusive that I need to play, which it will probably do. Yeah. knowing us.
Yeah, probably.
And this is such an American move too. Like I am not shocked that the American game company is the one that's trying to pull something like this, because they know.
Oh, yeah.
They know. Yeah. Like, make it as easy as possible for these people to buy the console, and that's all you need. Is like, I could never imagine, like,
we're allowed to be people today.
Yeah, exactly.
Tomorrow we're their subjects.
I could never see Nintendo doing something like this. Just personally, I can't imagine them ever doing something like making a Switch payment plan that's like this sort of frillless.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
this is where
I agree.
I see the three different in my head, the three different ways that these companies treat us and see us. I think Nintendo just sees us as sheep who will just keep dumping money no matter what they do.
We haven't proven them wrong yet, so
no, like. I went and pre-ordered the Game & Watch because I'm like, sweet, this looks so cool, and I'm sure someone's going to hack it, and it's going to be a great little portable. But really, they're just reselling you the same game they've resold us 1,000 times before with an alarm clock or with a clock, which is kind of cool. They're so good at it.
Marketing is on point.
But they do just see us as these little idiots who will just keep giving them money for something they created 35 years ago. Sony, I think, have completely taken us for granted. And like, nope, we're going to deliver a really bizarre looking console. You're going to buy it anyway because we know you are, because we're Sony. And we're not really going to bother telling you what real improvements we're going to do because it's another PlayStation and we know you buy it. Whereas Microsoft have had to, I guess they've had to swallow that kind of, not that bitter pill, but they've had to swallow their pride a bit, I guess you could say, and go, right, okay, we need to go back to basics, which they have been doing the last few years.
Yeah.
And you're right. Yeah. I think it's like, right, we need to be the good guys this time. We need to be the ones who are putting the console in people's homes at no extra charge. You know, we are going to do the best we can to get this console in front of you. Okay, we all know that there's ulterior motives, and Microsoft they're as big as they are because they are very good at business.
Yeah.
Sure.
But this is where I guess I see how these three companies see us. Maybe I'm a little bit being a bit of a typical cynical Brit, but it does feel like Microsoft are kind of going, "Hey, we're the good guys. Come on, like us. We're not that bad." Xbox isn't Microsoft. Microsoft, don't worry about them. They're all geeks. Microsoft is for Xbox is for the cool kids.
Come in my white van.
It's green and black, so it's kind of cool colors. Yeah. That's how I kind of view it.
Ultimately, to sort of land on the positive note, I guess the fact that more people have access to it, I would say is a net positive for the industry, for right. Us as fans, for people who otherwise would not be able to get a game console, unless you're like me and you wait until they're like $50. I think it's nice. It's nice that people get to jump in a little bit earlier and sort of experience a lot of this stuff with their friends and maybe some other peers that have the opportunity to get it when it comes out.
Their friends or their enemies.
Their frenemies.
Yeah, exactly. So Anthony, what do you think? Like, are they done? Is Microsoft done, like, getting back into our good graces, or is this going to be temporary? And like a year or 2 years from now, it's just going to be same business as usual with Sony being on top.
I mean, for the sake of us as gamers, I hope they're not done. I hope this is like the beginning. Because they're definitely not done. I think even us, like, we're just a little skeptic. Like, okay, that's cool. You got us in the van, but where's the candy? Promised us candy. Where is it? So I think
I need to be touched inappropriately, please.
Exactly. So I think right now, I mean, like you said, like you guys said before, they've got a catalog of the stuff that's coming. Nothing's written until we see this stuff, but they've done a great job of getting us here, like really getting us excited. I mean, the lucky thing with Microsoft, and even, mind you, they survived not having Halo at launch. This is all this good grace and all this hype is happening without Halo at launch, which was originally promised. But again, back to their messaging, they kind of told you ahead of time, it's not going to be here. Yeah. So like, not on launch day, you're waiting for your Halo game, and they're like, oh yeah, we forgot to tell you about this. So even with even with that game not being out, they've been saved by the fact that Sony doesn't really have anything out either. They have more. Don't get me wrong. Like if you wanted to play new games right now, like if you want to play next gen games, PlayStation 5 is probably what you want to do, because you at least got Demon Souls, right? Even if it is a remaster, but it's probably like the most next gen game out there.
Yeah.
Spider-Man. if it's anything like what NBA 2K is, like with the difference between the previous generation and this one, if they've been able to add that much to it to make it that much more playable, then that's a great game right there. You know, and you know, if you like Sackboy, you got Sackboy's Adventures. I mean, you know, whatever. So, you know, we all need a knack for every generation. Every generation needs a knack, you know. So
yeah.
So
that's really hard on Sackboy. He's a British gaming icon. Thank you very much.
I've heard really good things about Sackboy. Like, not gonna lie.
I know. I joke, but it's so true because, like, you know, they've kind of presented you with 3 games: a platformer, a RPG, and a basic adventure game, right? So you've got 3 games out the gate that you can play on a PlayStation 5. Yeah. Yet no one's, but so Microsoft has gotten enough good press right now that nobody's really talking about those games. You know, nobody's really talking about that.
Not as much as
stuff.
I expected. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
No, me
People
neither. I expected a
DualSense.
lot of talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah, but I can get that experience on the current consoles. I think that's the thing for me. Like, that's what I said at the beginning. Like, okay, they've got some cool looking games. Absolutely, they look stunning. But it's not like, I don't want to go too far back, but if you were to go from 8-bit to 16-bit or 32-bit to 128-bit, those are jumps. Yeah. That is when you go, I can see major differences here, major differences. Yeah. Whereas now, it's like, I can see quality of life improvements. I can see better lighting. It's like, man, I don't... That's nice for people who've got 80-inch 4K TVs, but... You know, I'm being a bit cynical, but I think that's where it's like, although there is Demon's Souls, it's still, I think they're still quite evenly matched, in my opinion.
We were carving the statue. Now it's all about polishing what's left. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But I wonder, maybe, sorry, Paul, I'm going to ask a question here. And is Halo a console seller? Because I'm not sure if it is anymore.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't be excited about it. Like, it's Halo, and I would have gotten it day one just because it's a day one game for this new console, you know. But I personally don't get it. It doesn't do anything for me, and to that extent, I don't think it would have pushed them any further. But from a standpoint of just trying to have a game at launch, I think it was just that game that they wanted to have out
nice
there.
To have.
Yeah. But I don't think you were going to buy an Xbox just to play Halo if you weren't already going to buy an Xbox. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't going to bring anybody from Sony over to buy the console just to play Halo.
Unless it came with a limited edition Master Chief helmet, green Xbox Series X, blah, blah, blah.
Blah, exactly.
Then we would have been over it.
Yeah, so I don't think Halo's a system seller, but to that extent, it's interesting because now that it's been delayed, it kind of, there's no pressure on Halo now, right? Like, there's no,
it gets its own launch.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, so and we'll see what happens. We'll see what people are feeling more about Halo when the game comes out, but it's not like the end all be all now. Yeah, which I think maybe that's why they pushed it back. Maybe they recognize, like, yo, this isn't really. I don't know. You don't need this.
No, I think they wanted it out there. I think they wanted it out there for sure.
It's an exclusive, probably, if nothing else.
Like, to what Geoff was saying, it probably ends up being better for them. It gets its own kind of event and so on and so forth. So this Microsoft chat, it seems to me that they are just kind of like playing kind of a different game. It looks like they've kind of got this long view going on where they want to get Game Pass into people's homes and hands as often and in any way they can. So whether it's by phone, PC, whatever, their thing is evidently Game Pass. So is this the right move? Like, are we going to be, 3-4 years from now and we're going to think back like, wow, Game Pass on every platform, that was the right move? Or are we going to be thinking, holy crap, I can't believe they diluted their Xbox product by just offering everything on PC?
I think that this is a smart move. I think they're thinking long-term, not short-term. And I think, like Anthony said, Halo is not a system seller. And I think what is a system seller to Microsoft, to Xbox at this point, is this pivot to these features. I think Game Pass is a system seller, personally. Mm-hmm. And I'm the kind of person that if you had asked me 3-4 years ago, do you want to stream your games? Like, do you want to have a complete digital library that you pay a monthly fee for and you can just pick and choose as you play? I'd be like, hell no. I don't trust these companies enough to sort of maintain quality over that. I don't trust them enough to not, start deleting games off these servers and me not being able to access them anymore. And to a certain extent, I still don't. But Microsoft has at least proven that you can get a playable, stable version of a game, of a next-gen game, over the internet. Like, they've proven that they can do Game Pass to the point that it's playable and it seems enjoyable. And if I, as a person, can buy a console and day one just have an entire library of games to play, that is appealing, Yeah. That is appealing. Whether you're a digital gamer or not, I think the option to have it is appealing. I think you make that choice for yourself, whether it's worth whatever they want to charge for it. And I think it's gonna, I would suspect that as it becomes more ubiquitous, it'll become more expensive. I think that like the Xbox, I think Microsoft is sort of getting it to you in as many ways as they can, buy this, get this included, let's make it cheap, go on sale, blah, blah, blah. Because once you have it, once you've played it and you enjoy it, then you want to keep it. And that's when they can sort of make that move. In the short term, as far as like their games go, I have my own analogy. We're pushing the champagne into the locker room. It's Game 7 of the finals. Microsoft needs to close this thing out. Like, it's not enough for you to be like, we've done it, we've released it, here's all these cool features, we have all these games that we promised you are going to be here in 2021. Now we're just going to sort of kick back and enjoy our success. Like, I need those games, I need those games. I've been waiting for Cyberpunk for like a year and a half now. Like, I will not be satisfied until those games are in my hand and I'm playing them and I see that the work is there. But as far as what the setup is, I think they're doing it right. I think they have a nice setup that's going to lead them to a lot more success in the future. Yeah. Now we just have to see what Sony's answer is.
Yeah.
Yep. It's so bizarre that we've had the PlayStation Now for years, and yet Sony doesn't talk about it, man. Like, I never hear anything from Sony about PlayStation Now. It's just this, app that's available on my PS4, and I can pay money or not and have it. It's so strange that they haven't been pushing this.
I think, and I don't want to quote my work culture here, but what's so good about what Microsoft are doing right now is they're giving you options. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine they're going to be, obviously, I mean, it's a data company. They're going to be collecting data for years on this to decide, okay, what really are consumers, are gamers, what are they actually preferring from all of this? And rather than say, this is what you're going to get no matter what, and you're not going to get an option, they're letting you choose, but they're letting you have access to, I was saying, access to as much as possible, whereas PlayStation just seems to be, here's something we thought of. And Sony, their PlayStation ARM, you can trace back through previous generations with their different hardware, and they would just release stuff just for the sake of it, to go, oh, here's PlayStation TV, here's the PSP, the PlayStation Pocket Station. Here's stuff which actually is really cool tech, is really cool, but we're not going to support it. We're going to forget about it, and we're doing it just so that we've got an R&D arm who just makes stuff. Whereas this time, and that's where I felt like PlayStation Now ended. It was this is our answer to it, but actually we don't really have much. We don't really care much about it because we're more interested in something else. Whereas Microsoft, maybe they've just listened, and I think again it's that having to swallow that pill of having to be humble after the massive faux pas they made, and it seems like they listened.
It makes me happy to know that Microsoft is sort of willing to play ball in this cross-play space. I feel like they're no longer the mentality of game companies being like, I want to be the game company. I want to crush everybody else, and I want to be the game company that stands alone above the rest. I think that's done. I think every game company now knows, like, Nintendo NES era stuff, like, that's over. Now it's, how much of this market can I stake for myself? And if I need to work and do crossplay to, bring some people over to me, I'll do that, And I think that Sony is inching towards that themselves. I think they're they're going to be the last on the boat because they have the biggest piece of the pie right now. But I think ultimately they'll do it.
I can't imagine them not doing it. It just seems that's the kind of thing that's going to slowly erode goodwill over time. And I think they have to avoid that. But I also think that they probably won't, man. I think people on top, they just have that mentality, and I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to bring in the crossplay, but
I agree. I think Sony, the way I see that company right now as a total company, I don't think they're really massively collaborative partners.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Microsoft, I mean, obviously, most of us have got a PC. We're all running Windows.
Yeah.
I know some people have got Macs and what have you, but Microsoft can afford to do cross-play and multiplayer because they have a massive network outside of the console market.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sony they really just play in the console game.
Yeah.
So I think doing the cross-play, they would be like, all we're going to do is lose people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because our handhelds don't work. People don't buy our handhelds. They buy Nintendo. So why would we give Nintendo some of our customers?
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're going to be. I think they've got more to lose. But again, that's what you're saying. When you're on top, you've got everything to lose.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, on that note, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, more next gen goodness. All right, everyone, we're back. And so I guess the next topic, there's really no logic to how we're progressing about this. So when I say now the next topic, it's really just whatever I have written down here. But, the controllers, guys, Anthony, in an ideal world, UPS actually delivers packages instead of pretending. And we would have firsthand experience on the show with the PS5 controller and all of its buzzwords, like the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers and all that. Sadly, we don't have that. So based on what I've seen of the controller for the PS5, I'm not even really that sure I'm excited about it. Like Anthony, what do you think, man? Are you more excited to have the new tech in your hands, or is it just better to be able to play with your Xbox One controller and save money?
At first, I was all about, I thought the cost savings between getting an Xbox and having all these controllers from the Xbox One be available day one is such an easy cost savings out the gate. You don't have to buy anything extra. You're good. You got Game Pass. You're good. You get to go home and play your system. So that's what that is. That's nothing to do with that. But I'm actually excited to get the DualSense and really mess around with this thing. Only because I have the Xbox controller. Yeah, because I have the Xbox controller, and it's very familiar. Nothing wrong with that. It's just the Xbox
DualSense
controller.
I feel like has been more hyped than this actual console. Like I have seen more articles, more videos, more everything about the DualSense. Yep. I gotta whisper it. That's how you guys say you got DualSense. Than the actual PS5. I feel like at this point I'm more excited about the fact that the grips on the DualSense are just little PlayStation symbols than I am about getting a PS5.
I'm curious to play this though. I'm curious to just mess around with this controller just because I just want to see. I mean, next gen stuff. You just want to see what they brought to the table, what they're doing, what they're innovating with. No, there's no doubt that Sony definitely innovates with stuff like this. So. I'm really curious to see how this controller works. But from everything I've read and heard, it like you said, Arnie, it's gotten way more hype than the console. Everybody's really on point, like raving about this controller.
And it looks really cool. Like
it does. It does look really cool.
It's like, They did a really good design, which is, it's like, okay, the Xbox controller is great, but like, man, this looks really cool. This is a shiny object. This is what they're waving in front of you. Xbox, this is crazy, right? Xbox is like, free games, do whatever you want, no interest. All Sony does is go like, but look at this, look guys, look, like, oh shit.
It really does feel like Sony is dangling its keys in front of my face at this point, and I'm loving it, man. I love
Basically.
it.
I am so happy,
but I do love
that
the new Xbox controller.
I am so happy, Anthony, that you are excited about the new tech. It's a breath of fresh air, because I feel like the other three of us, I don't want to speak for Geoff yet, but like personally, I'm more interested in saving money, because I've now had, ever since the 6-axis specifically, I have now had several generations of new controllers and new tech, each one more disappointing than the last. I press a button and my dude jumps. I've said it a million times. That's all I care about. I just want to press a button and my guy jumps. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm super happy though that you're excited about it.
Paul thinks the last monumental addition to controllers was the analog stick. Anything beyond that is fucking garbage.
Yeah, the DualSense, it's gimmicky. I mean, we'll see where that goes, right? But it's, it's day one. And it's a new tech, and you just kind of want to mess around with it and see what it's about.
I wish I was you, man. I do. I wish I was you.
Yeah,
I wish I was more excited about it, especially given that you haven't actually received it yet. Like, I would be, if I was you, I'd be like pissed off. I'd be like, fuck this shit, a stupid controller. I don't care anymore.
It does, the DualSense does have more weight to it. It has more weight. You really feel like you're holding something that's like substantial in your hand. Like. You really like it. Really feels like it's new tech. Like as opposed to,
sorry.
Yeah, I had to pause because I said something really bad just now.
If you hadn't paused, I wouldn't even have noticed anything.
But as opposed to the Xbox controller, the new one, it's the same controller. They added more features to it in terms of like the share button. The grips feel better. The grips actually feel a lot better. So it feels whatever the little tweaks they did were perfect. It feels so much better in your hand. So remains to be seen though. I really want to mess around with a DualSense so I could really kind of say if this is going to be a lasting thing, or like you said, like if I shoot a gun and feeling the resistance on the trigger, like that sounds cool on paper. Like, oh shit, yeah, but am I really going to care about that though? Am I really going to play enough games where this could be a factor? Remains to be seen.
And that's where I completely agree with you, Paul. I think I was, once the 6-axis proved to be a damp squid, I was like, nah. Controllers just need to help me get from A to B. They don't need to do anything in addition. Yeah, and like the feedback and like feeling about which different gun you're controlling, or maybe which different car you're accelerating. It's cool, but I don't play either of those games that much. So for me, it's like, okay, like is this just a feature for specific gameplay? And I know plenty of people love Call of Duty. Absolutely. I mean, those millions of people play that, so it's going to be cool. I just wonder how much of it. No, you don't want it. Paul, just don't look it up. Don't look it up. You'll just get angry.
I mean, look, is this going to affect? If this is going to affect my carpal tunnel with these haptic feedbacks, I don't know. Do I have to disable this feature?
I just want, ultimately, listen. I agree with everything Anthony's saying. I think it's really cool tech. I think it looks great. If it adds anything, I hope it adds to the VR experience, because that's what I'm most interested in, these little sort of tweaks about. But I just want, ultimately, Sony, just give me the boomerang PS3 controller. Just make it. We want it. Give me that disgusting banana looking thing. And that is the only controller that I will ever be like day one reason for purchase. That is the only one. Everything else I can wait for.
It would be a lot of fun if they actually manufactured different form factors, so you could get like the PS3 form factor or the PS4 form factor. That would be pretty cool, man. I'm surprised they haven't done anything like that before.
Yeah.
I guess with the PS3, it's not terribly realistic because the controllers are getting bigger as they get more stuff added to them. So I'm glad I wasted everybody's time with that observation.
But as far as, with the Xbox One controller, Anthony, that you have gotten to sort of play around with, is it just an improved next gen controller? Is it the exact same thing? Like, does it feel any different? Do you feel like it adds to the gameplay factor at all?
It just feels like I said, they polished it up a little. They made the grip on the bottom a little more. It's more like they took the Elite controller and just kind of like made it not so elite. So it's just the D-pad is like, the D-pad is a little, it's better than on the Xbox One.
So you can navigate those menus nicely.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a lot better. But the buttons, everything's familiar. Everything about the Xbox is familiar. Even the interface. When you load it up, it's the exact same interface that you have on the current gen.
Is that a plus in and of itself, though? The fact that you don't have to fumble around for 20 minutes, like figuring out where everything is?
Exactly. Like at first, when I was reading about it, people were like, "Oh, that sucks. It's different." Right. But when you jump in, when I logged in, I didn't even think about it. I went right in and I knew where everything was. And I think if you played anything on the Xbox One, the interface I had for years, it was like real sluggish sometimes, real slow. Like when you try to like navigate through things, it's almost like they had the outline for what they wanted their menu system to look like, and now they have the power to like really push it through on the new console. So everything's flying by. There's no lag. There's nothing. So it feels very much at home. The controller, the interface, everything feels very much at home.
Yeah, I remember when I first got my PS4, just like struggling with this, like the pad in the middle. They move the start button, so it's this little tiny thing on the corner, and I was just like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to get used to this. And then obviously I did, but like initially going into it, it was a little bit of a struggle. So I'm glad to know that if I go the Xbox route, that's not really going to be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I had problems figuring out the Xbox interface on the last gen, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that it was always so sluggish. Yeah, it was so delayed in what I was trying to select sometimes. So this to me made it like, oh, so maybe they had this vision and they just couldn't really push that vision through until they got to this console.
It's possible. Yeah. I find the same thing with the PS4 though. Like the interface I find is sluggish. Like I press to the left or right, and it just takes like that that quarter of a second for the actual input to happen or whatever it is, and sometimes I'll skip over what I actually want, and I'm like, I always wonder with these things, like I'm getting so paranoid, man. I just keep wondering, am I old? And obviously the answer is yes, but like how much of this is like my old age being unable to handle new stuff, and how much of it is just the new stuff sucking? I don't know what the answer is.
I know, man. I tell you, I mentioned this on the chat the other day, but every time I have to ask my kids how to do something, how to navigate through a menu or how to do something, they just give me this look.
I know, dude.
They give me that look that like, all right, Dad. And I'm like, fuck.
Dude, this is a reason that Christy and I don't have kids. Because my ego just can't handle it. I don't want to reach the point where my kid is better than me at anything, or I have to ask, oh dear God, the thought of asking my kid a question, like helping with I can't. I don't want to deal with it. I admire you, Anthony.
Yeah. Well, I had my on a chat with my family this week. There was a meme of Donald Trump being Biff and waxing the car of Biden. And it's like I had to kind of say like, but you do know what movie that's referencing from, don't you? And they're like, yeah, of course we do. And like, it's from Back to the Future. Oh yeah, we knew that. I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
No, you
don't
didn't.
lie. Don't lie to me.
That's a shame, man. I feel like that is an evergreen movie. I feel like that movie will just always be good. And maybe it's because I saw it when I was a kid, but that is a great movie.
It's still good. Yeah, it's still so good.
I think the thing that makes me happy is that our biggest complaint now is that like, oh, the thing won't go left as fast as I want it to, as opposed to like when people bought Xbox 360s and they like caught fire or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, this is my biggest concern now. We've come so far.
Oh, that is true.
We'll always find something.
Actually, no, Paul. You have the perfect example of this. Didn't you own a PS1 that you had to like put upside down or like put in a refrigerator for it to even like work properly.
Yeah, my buddy.
And now you sit here 30 years later, like, you know, it's just like the lag between when I hit the left and when it actually moves is fuck.
Okay,
man.
but which one, Arnie, is a better story, right? Like, at least with the PS1 that I put in the refrigerator and then flipped upside down, years later I can joke about it. Nobody's going to be laughing about the lag time between the PS4 moving menus. That's I'd rather just either make it perfect or make it so terrible that I'll have stories to tell. That's what I want.
That I get a good story out of it.
I just know even with a PlayStation 5 and with a LAN cable, when I hook it up and I want to look at my trophies or I want to look at a game's online features, it's going to take 2 fucking minutes to load. I know they're not going to.
Oh my god, it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy, dude. Like I can't. I need that self-affirmation. Yeah. I need to be able to look at my trophies and have it pop up instantly, because there are days where I just don't feel that good about myself, and at least I can look at my trophies. But when they don't pop up, it's like,
hopefully that's a thing of the past.
I hope so. Because okay.
I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna be honest. When they did that update that like everybody's like trophy score or whatever, like level jumped like 100 levels, I was like, man, I feel good today. I have achieved.
I don't think that was a good update, man. I really don't. It used to be that I was level 13 and I'm like looking forward to the 14. Now I'm like level fucking 200 something. I don't even know when I level up anymore. It has no meaning anymore. Like all these gaming accomplishments are just
now
like,
you know how billionaires feel when they get another 200 million in the bank. Now you know how they feel. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything.
Exactly the same.
Nothing to lose.
Yeah. Before I was living my normal life being level 11 or whatever. Now I'm level 312 and I'm Tony Montana in the mansion at the end of the movie.
Face down, breathing it in.
Exactly. The world is mine now.
Can we get a quick final word on which console looks better? Because in the long lost episode that we recorded, we actually spent a not insignificant amount of time talking about this. But, you know, now the consoles have been out. We've seen the memes. We've seen everything. Like, can I get a final word, Anthony? Which one do you want? Which one will Hannah tolerate more in your living room?
Oh, she'd prefer the Xbox. She won't even notice it's there.
Interesting. I kind of see what I kind of wondered is if the girls would like that kind of artistic, cool looking thing, or if they just don't want to notice it at all.
The abstract sort of statue.
She doesn't want me putting much of anything up anywhere, so this is the best bet for me. This is the least route of resistance right now for me is just to have the Xbox.
Right on.
Although I'm telling you, man, these things are so heavy, so it's like I was really thinking about getting the mounts, the wall mounts, to put them up, and I'm like, I don't know if my walls are strong enough
to hold these things anymore.
To handle the fucking dark matter inside your Xbox. All right, we don't need to spend too much time on that. Geoff, I know how you feel about it already, and I could go either way on them. You know what? No, we'll spend another second here. The only problem I have with the PS5, honestly, is just its size. I like the way it looks. I like the way it looks better than the Series X. But like, boy, oh boy, when I see the pictures of how big it is, I'm like, God damn, man. Even with my setup, it's like, I gotta figure this out.
It's gigantic.
You would just hope that every tech company out there would have their IKEA team who'd be like, does our stuff fit in IKEA furniture? If the answer is no, then you got to go back to the drawing board. That should surely be like a litmus test right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, and I don't know if I'm the only idiot who thought this, but whenever I saw the Xbox Series X, you know how it has like the green on top of it, like where the grate is? I thought that was a light. Like I thought when you turned it on, it like emanated some sort of green, cool looking light. But no, it's painted on there. I was like, what the fuck is this?
It's like a plastic like green thing that they put there to make it look that way. And I'm like,
Garbage.
You guys are clever.
Garbage.
That's unfortunate. Oh,
But
man.
no, yeah, I agree. The PS5 is just huge. Like, it looks great. It's just gigantic. I'm sure when the slim model inevitably comes out, it'll be a little bit more manageable in that sense.
Yeah.
Like, it'll fit into your setup a lot better. The Xbox just like kind of slides in there. The matte black looks great, and it's very like sort of low profile.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know any better, you would think. It's on steroids. But if somebody didn't know any better, it'd be like an Alexa for all they knew. You know,
exactly.
like, oh, is that the new Super Alexa Echo plus 3,000? Yeah, that's it.
All right. So with the talk now of these consoles and, you know, the footprint that they take up in the house and so on and so forth, is this going to be the last generation now of consoles? Because I remember back when the PS4, Xbox, you know, fuck, dude, I have to like always pause and think about which Xbox I'm talking about because they all sound so similar, 360 notwithstanding.
Oh, man.
But like people were talking back then about, you know, is this going to be the last one? And people were saying, yeah, absolutely. We're going to cloud gaming and it's over. No more consoles. And now we're here. Yeah. People are saying the same thing. Arnie, are they wrong again?
I think it depends, because my understanding of it, at least, was the argument was these are essentially going to become PCs now. They're PC lights. Like, there will not be a new console. You will basically upgrade this as it goes. And maybe for something like a PS5 that's that big, I could see something like that. I don't know how you would pull that off with something like the Series X. Like, am I taking this thing apart myself and sort of adding memory to it and then trying to jam it back into the dark matter cube, as Paul would say? I don't know, man. Like, if their idea of that is that every year and a half or 2 years, it's like, here's the PS5 Pro Mega Super Hyper Turbo Deluxe Edition, I don't think you can say it's over, because if I'm still buying new hardware, then what the fuck are we talking about here? Just because you don't name it the PS6 doesn't mean that you're not forcing me to buy a new console eventually. I think the only way you could definitively say that this is it is if the games are always playable on the most basic base unit.
Yes.
The second that you tell me, oh, this is the new 3DS, and you can't play new 3DS games on your old 3DS, I'm like, this is a new... To me, mentally, that's a new console. Mm-hmm. That's a new console. It has its own library. I have to buy it if I want to experience everything you have to offer. Yeah. So I think you could say that technically it's the last generation, and that maybe they won't name them. Like, they won't be like, here's the PS6, PS7, PS8, Xbox Series X, Series Zeta, Theta, whatever. But I think it will be within the same infrastructure, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense to me. Geoff, what about you?
I'm 50-50 on this, because I always think what's in the best interests of Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft. You know, when you look at the way the world is, some people are trying to steer the world anyway and being far more conscious about what we're producing and what we're doing. Is another round of 200 million consoles really the right thing? You could always argue no environmentally, of course. But what would be in Sony's best interest to not make more new hardware in the future? Like I said, it feels like with Microsoft, because they are so merged with PC gaming, there is that feeling that of all the companies that are going to go towards a unit which is upgradable, it's going to be Microsoft, because they've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But what have Sony got to lose? Especially what have Nintendo got to lose? They need, right now, their model, and I know I work for a mass consumer based retailer. We rely on people needing new stuff all the time. That's what we need. Yeah. And I think Nintendo, look, we just said it, like, they keep giving us Mario Bros. It's like, yeah, they keep making it, we keep buying it. Why would they want to disrupt that? And I feel that's where, like, Sony are still a mass-producing tech company. Sony haven't cornered an ecosystem of anything, whereas Microsoft kind of have.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel Sony will continue with the 6. I think that this isn't the last one. I think that the next generation, so the PS6, I think that is going to still exist, and I think that will merge more and more into a kind of a blended unit. But I think I feel like Microsoft are heading more towards a different future than Sony are right now. Obviously, we're not in either boardroom, but it's just the inclination that I get. And Nintendo just do their own thing, but they're going to keep producing hardware no matter what.
They're essentially a toy manufacturer. It's just the toy plays video games. At least that's kind of how I've always looked at Nintendo. But anyway, Anthony, what do you think? Or is this the last time we're seeing these?
Nah, I don't think it is. I think Sony and Microsoft have two different visions. I think Microsoft, as of right now, they're set up for a possible all digital age or not. I just think usually when the consoles are released, it's almost like they instantly start mocking up the next gen.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like, so this is something they have to like decide, like, that they have to be doing now already. So I don't think they would say no more. But I think Microsoft is set up to venture into other avenues in digital, in digital space.
Yeah.
I think Sony would need help to achieve that kind of thing. Like, they might need they would need to team up with like maybe Google or something to achieve like a all digital cloud-based service. Where I think Microsoft is all in house. But I don't think so. I think hardware is here to stay. How they incorporate it, maybe the media changes. Maybe it's not a big disc. Maybe they come up with like little implants that you just pop in, whatever. I think I think there's a better chance that the media might change rather than the hardware completely going away.
Yeah. I think the focus of the hardware might change. Like if Sony goes full VR and starts exploring that space, I think that becomes a lot more interesting, man.
Interesting.
Because maybe I'm not a PS6 guy, but if you give me like a wireless VR headset and maybe, some more adaptive controllers than just like the Move Maracas for Beat Saber, like, then I'm like, ooh, okay, I'll get into this, because I think that Geoff made a good point where it's like Nintendo sort of siloed themselves off and their niche is now portable, like the portable hybrid, right? And that's, I don't think Sony and Microsoft are interested in going that route with them.
No.
So I think they've done a good job of like digging their niche, and that's where they'll hang out from now on. Who knows what the next generation will bring, but I think that where the hardware goes, I think you may not see a new iteration of it, but maybe they start exploring new mediums of video gaming.
Right. And even you just mentioned the VR. How hyped are we going to be when they come out with the version 2 of the VR for the PlayStation and it's all wireless?
It's going to be awesome.
Like,
I know, I'll be able to barf even faster.
You'll be able to make it to the toilet.
That's going to be a huge system. I would think that would be a huge system seller. Like if you got the base already for the PS5.
I mean, I spent one evening with the Oculus Rift with the wireless one. Amazing, amazing, incredible.
Yeah, I actually have that. I bought it.
You man, I need to get to New York. I need to get to your funhouse.
Yo, I bought that. I bought that. I tried it out, and I was just like, "Yo, there's no going back from this. Like, I can't even look at the PSVR anymore." And then I had to put it back in the box and hide it till Christmas. And I'm like, "Just get here." But that thing is amazing, and it's if Sony came out with something equivalent to this for their system, man, that people are gonna flock.
Anthony, you got to level with me here real quick. How many times have you bought something off of Sky Mall magazine? You seem like the guy who would buy the slippers with the flashlights on them for when you get up in the middle of the night. You You get all the cool toys, man. I'm jealous.
I know.
Honestly.
I'm a little bit jealous too. Jealous and
I'm
like
the worst.
I don't even know why I'm surprised anymore. Like when you said that you got the new Oculus, I was like, whoa, man, I can't believe it. And then I'm like, wait, no, this is totally on brand, actually.
Well done, man. Well done.
Well, I'm
telling you, these kids, man.
I think ultimately I agree with you guys. Arnie made a good point, which is like, look, as soon as they bring out a game where you can't play it on the old box, then you just got to buy the new one, and congratulations, you have a new generation. Mm-hmm. And I think the whole streaming thing is like, it's like, to me, it's like self-driving cars, right? They keep saying, "Oh, it's just a couple years away. It's just a couple years away." But we're always wildly optimistic, I think, with these new iterations of technology and how fast they're going to show up. Or cynically, they just want to drive up their stock prices, so they say, "Yeah, it'll be here tomorrow," but obviously it never is, right? So, like, with regards to just being able to stream all your games, I just don't think we have the broadband infrastructure. Like. Maybe in Southeast Asia, Korea, Japan, because of their smaller size, Europe, Western Europe specifically, that might be a more realistic option because they just have less space to cover. But in North America, look, our broadband's just not there. It is some places, but most, I want to say most places, but there is a significant amount of places where the tech just isn't there. And whereas taking home an Xbox Series X or a PS5 and putting a disc in and playing, that's universal. Everybody can do that. So I think, we'll get there, of course. Maybe 5G will be the answer. Who knows? But, until that point, I don't think the tech is there to supplant our boxes of fun.
Yeah. I think out of all the companies right now, Microsoft would have the clearest vision of how that looks. But you're right. But you make a really good point, Paul. The infrastructure globally just wouldn't support that sort of one direction of where they want to go. But if you're gonna put your money on anyone, it's going to be Microsoft, I think.
Yeah. Between Microsoft, Amazon, Google, I still kind of throw in my lot with Microsoft on that
outside
one.
of gaming, Apple, Google.
Yeah, but like on one hand, the infrastructure is not quite there to support it yet, but on the other hand, you don't want to be the last person in, right? Like you want to start trying and pushing, and you want to get that foothold in there. So anyway, I guess the sum of this conversation is that we're all betting that there's going to be a PlayStation 6, and that in 6 or 7 years we'll be sitting here and we'll be having this same conversation over again.
Hope so.
All right, guys, one more break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of the games. All right, everyone, we're back. And so I guess the logical place to start with this next section here is Anthony, of course, because you've got one of the systems. You will have the other one here shortly, UPS, God willing. The launch games. Like, I think traditionally we're used to a lot of launch games, and we're used to maybe not necessarily console exclusives. We've talked about that on the show before, how over the years, the amount of console exclusives at launch has kind of gone down a bit. But it feels to me like we have kind of a lack of day one purchases here, gaming-wise. Like, is this something that you've noticed, or have you been largely satisfied?
Nah, going into this cycle, like that was the more disappointing part. It was the weirdest part, because to me, this was the first time a console was launching from Microsoft or Sony, and it was like, really nothing there, like you almost got the sense that they were rushing this since they didn't have things ready at launch, So it is a weird time for this stuff. But of course, it's 2020, so why not launch a new console with no games? Fuck it, don't buy it. And usually, and we look back and we've done like an episode where we was looking at launch titles and stuff, and you start realizing like, wait a minute, this wasn't really there at launch. We really don't. There's not really a lot of games that normally come out at launch, but it just seems like it's more prevalent this time. Like people are really noticing it more so this time around. But I will say though, Microsoft really has no exclusives day one. Like they have nothing. There's really nothing there. I think there's a game called Eagle. I think it's Eagle.
Oh yes, I've heard of it. I think
that doesn't come out till next week. And I don't know if that's not exactly a system seller anyway. But if you wanted to go exclusive, like this is what they have. Sony definitely did I think we mentioned it before, but Sony did a better job of having at least something day one. Yeah. But still not system selling. Yeah. So I don't really think there's anything pushing anyone to buy these consoles day one if they want to play something. Like Geoff mentioned, you can play these games on the current gen. Yeah. And that goes along with the visions for these companies. I think Microsoft came out the gate saying, hey, no need to upgrade. You just upgrade whenever you want. Yeah. Whereas Sony is like really telling you, no, you got to buy this shit. You got to buy this shit now. Buy it. Buy it. So two different philosophies. Microsoft is telling you, they're basically saying we ain't got shit. So, if you want to buy it, you go ahead. But, we got this little cool upgrade feature for some of these games and, it'll add stuff like this. But other than like what I mentioned at the beginning with like a game like NBA 2K, which me personally seeing like a stark difference between the generations, I don't think that's maybe something I'm only going to notice. Like I don't think anyone else is going to really go through that and pick up on these things. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, these aren't day one purchases, console purchases. I don't think. Yeah. Like, think you can wait.
Geoff, do you think anybody even cares now about launch lineups? Because now we've got a world where it's just kind of like you can play the same games, but on the new system they're better, instead of you can only play this game on the new system. Like, is this enough? I guess it is, because people are buying.
It feels that way, doesn't it? That's the way it seems to be going, where it's essentially what you're buying here is a PC upgrade. It's like you're getting yourself ready for Cyberpunk. You're getting yourself ready for the next God of War or whatever. That's what you're really doing. I am genuinely surprised in the timing of it, because although it's been a lot of years since PS4 and the Xbox One came out, it's been a big gap. It's through a pandemic and through global lockdowns, etc., to be able to put this in the marketplace for both companies to be able to do this, I think is, especially like so much, a good 2 paychecks before Christmas. I think it's been a pretty good thing on their part, at least to get this into the market, then worry about the games at a later date. The people who are going to buy it at launch were always going to buy this stuff at launch, and they were always going to get Spider-Man PS5, because these are just the people that pick up everything on launch. So let them buy it, let them have it. And then in the meantime, the rest of us catch up once a few more games have come out. But what's the harm in having the console in the marketplace a bit longer? If it puts less, I mean, obviously there was a huge demand for both consoles. We were just talking at the start of the show about how people have been struggling to get hold of these. Yeah, but it's probably better now than it was when we were all stressing and we all wanted it because we all wanted to play something. It's maybe a little bit calmer and a bit more, okay, I like you were saying about Xbox, about Microsoft, like, pick it up when you want to pick it up. And it's like, oh, thanks for treating me like an adult. I appreciate that. If I was a kid, different game. I want it for Christmas. But as an adult, I appreciate a company not forcing me or pressuring me into buying something that at the moment is probably not the wisest way to spend money. We're all in our individual financial situation, but a lot of people have not had a good year.
Yeah, I can't imagine someone like having a bad year financially, which many of us have, and still going out and getting one of these systems. But those people are out there. We all know who they are. Right, it's happening. So, it's nice that Microsoft does take that tact. And I mean, Sony to an extent as well, right? Because there is backwards compatibility for PS4 games on the PS5. They are going to look better. Am I mistaken here? Mm-hmm. I think they are, right?
My understanding is you can get, I don't know about Demon Souls, but I think you can get Miles Morales on PS4 and then have it automatically upgrade to PS5 whenever you buy it. So there is that option.
Yeah. Speaking of backwards compatibility, like, do we care? Is this something that is going to matter to us? Arnie, what do you think?
I mean, if you had asked me 6 months ago, I would have said absolutely it matters. I think that I've sort of adjusted my thinking on that a little bit, because I think things like Game Pass ultimately, if treated correctly, I think could void the backwards compatibility argument altogether, because I think it is nice if I can pop in my discs and I don't have to depend on Microsoft, maintaining these servers into eternity. But I think, if they really put some effort into not only making a good catalog of the current gen stuff on the service like Game Pass, but also curate some of the maybe the more desirable, maybe throw in a little bit of the obscure oddities for some of their older consoles on Game Pass, then I think you sort of circumvent that problem. You don't have to sort of build the hardware into the machine. You just have to build the infrastructure that lets you play it from this independent service.
Yeah.
How sustainable that is in the long run, we'll find out. But it's better than nothing, in my opinion.
Yep. I mean, I've said this before on our long lost next gen recording, but like backwards compatibility, man, it's that thing that I want. Me personally, I want this, but I know that I am in the minority. I know that most people don't care, that I just happen to be loud because, I'm loud, right? So people, you hear people talking about backwards compatibility, but it just doesn't really, I don't know, man. I don't think it, I don't think it matters that much anymore. With that said, though, like, I would definitely be interested in a Series X because of its high degree of backwards compatibility. To be able to go all the way back to my Xbox games, personally, I love it. I just know that I'm the minority on this.
Yeah. Well, the thing too, especially like this launch with the new games not being readily available, being able to access your old catalog is beneficial for them.
Yeah, of course.
It's beneficial to have be able to just go and throw in my Xbox One games or any generation at that point.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sad. I'm sad every time we talk about it because I know it's not important. I know it's not important to anyone but me. And so, yeah, but it is something to mention. Anyway, so like Geoff was saying, oh, wow, these systems actually play games. We haven't talked about a fucking game yet, really, other than NBA 2K and, a light dusting of Miles Morales and so on. So, like, the games, man. Geoff, have you seen anything that you're really looking forward to here?
No. Can I be that downer? Not really. But no, that's okay. No, I'm already kind of going through my own data banks here. I'm interested in Phantasy Star Online. That's got me intrigued. Right. I'd love to play Demon Souls. I won't lie, like that would be cool to play through, especially when everyone's on it. Maybe in 6 months or so, once there's a lot of gamers on it, it'd be great. But otherwise, neither of the conferences, if you can call them that now, of the online showings, neither of them pulled me in to make me think, oh, there's going to be some absolutely critical games that I'm going to play. However, I know that there will be plenty of games that I want to play. There's no way you can get around that. When you're a gamer, you're a gamer for life, right? So you'll always you'll always find something to play, even if it's all your indie games. You know that these machines are gonna have like a plethora of fantastic games to play through. But for the next gen stuff, there's nothing that right now would is even tempting me right now.
Yeah, yeah. Arnie, what about you?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Geoff. Like, there's nothing, at least in the short term, that I'm like really itching to play. And I think, I mean, it goes par for the course for this generation. I feel like this is a generation that's sort of built on the promise of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right now, not much. But if you buy into PS5 or you buy into Xbox, here's what we promise to give you later. So in that sense, there is some, like, Deathloop. I remember being interested in Ghostwire, stuff like that. Like, the stuff that's a little bit more out of the box. Or at least seems to be that way, is piquing my interest a little bit more. And then obviously there's like standbys that I want to try, like Horizon, Journey to or Forbidden West, and Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Some of those, Resident Evil 8. Some of those look really interesting. But it really is, you know, looking at these lists that I've pulled up here, it really is. Oh, Psychonauts 2.
Of course,
like, I'm very interested to try out because I was a fan of that game. But it's really all 2021 and beyond.
Yeah.
There is nothing as of right now that I'm like, I gotta get it.
Yeah.
It's just not there. And hopefully by then I'll have also bought a Switch because they're doing the Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne remake and Shin Megami Tensei 5, hopefully.
Well, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, I hope you do, but
Exactly.
yeah, I have to admit, like, there are some that I'm interested in, like Deathloop. You just mentioned Deathloop looks really good. The only problem with Deathloop is that I feel like I could probably play it on a PS4, and you know, it would probably be kind of the same. But with that said, I think the medium on the Xbox Series X, that looks next gen. That looks like something that I would definitely want to try. Made by some of the people behind the original Silent Hill. And what was the other one? Everwild. Everwild also by Rare.
True, yes.
Yeah, that one looks really interesting to me. It's one of those. I heard one of the lead producers left the project, which, goddamn, man, I hate hearing that stuff because every time I hear something like that, I think of Mass Effect Andromeda, and it just kind of like, ooh, I don't know. But the game looks to be mostly complete, so I'm hoping that doesn't have like a terribly adverse effect on it, because it looks really good, man. Anything that kind of looks different and has an interesting art direction, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Anthony, you're the guy who actually owns this stuff, man. What are you looking forward to?
I have nothing yet. I have nothing, man. Nothing. Nah, I mean, you guys pretty much mentioned, like, the Medium and Everwild were two of the games that I'm, down the road I'm looking forward to. But just to be optimistic, I mean, I'm really looking forward to playing Miles Morales and Demon's Souls, I really want to see how the gameplay is. I want to see how different it is. I can't wait to see how this haptic feedback intrigues me. So, it's always a fun time when the new consoles launch, whether you're going to get it or not, whether the games are there or not. It's still fun to see what they're introducing. That's one thing that Sony's really good at. They're really good at introducing new mechanics in the beginning and the games to support those mechanics. So whether they wind up supporting this long term or not, it's fun now to try to see what this is like.
Yeah. That's
I think that's just such a like such a predictable outcome of this, that we finally gotten to the point where it's like 8K ray tracing, like visual. You could see the sweat coming off the pores of LeBron James's face, and we're like, what game I'm really looking forward to? The one that looks like paper mache cutouts that like bounce off against each other. Like, that's what the art direction is so crisp and nice.
I had a friend of mine last night. He just got his Xbox and he was like, "Hey, you want to jump online tonight and play?" And I said, "Yeah, cool. I want to do some stuff for the recording tomorrow, so let's try some stuff out." I was like, "What do you want to play?" He goes, "No, nothing too complicated."
Yeah.
So I said, "All right, let's download Pac-Man and have him go with it then." And all I kept thinking about was like, imagine if we get these new consoles and we just go and play Pac-Man on this shit,
But we do. Like,
and don't get me wrong, I love when something sort of
Sorry, Arnie.
Of course, yeah.
I want to make it very clear that, I love it when games sort of go out the box like that, because I think it having this technology is sort of an open invitation to sort of experiment and do your own thing. But it will never cease to be funny to me that we have the ability now to create like the most lifelike, models and like environments that we've ever seen, and I will still forever be fascinated by Psychonauts 2, which is like
right?
a 2D animated game that I could probably play on my PS3.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get it, man. I don't get it, but you're 100% correct. And yeah, to Anthony's point, I mean, like, look, we have a lot of complaints. We have a lot of complaints, but the fact of the matter is, every time a new console cycle comes out, it's fun. It's fun. We talk about it. We've talked about it for 2 hours. It's not quite the leap between, you know, the Super Nintendo and the N64, or even the PS1 and the PS2. Like, we're not seeing those giant leaps anymore, and it just doesn't matter, man. It's fun. It's fun talking about it. It's fun speculating. It's fun getting excited for it. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's not so much fun, you know, clicking on the shopping cart and then they're sold out. That part is not fun. But
no, it's not
everything else, or UPS, but everything else about it is super fun to talk about. And I think that's where we'll leave it off for today. So, guys, this has been.
I think in a just as a little thing at the end, Paul. Sorry, but you kind of touched something in my brain where it's like, it really, in a very real sense, I think this is the best part of every new console generation. It's that moment right before things start getting released, and you can get online with your friends and talk shit and speculate and have hope for the future of things to come. By the time you're like 3, 4, 5 years into it, you're like, all right, let's on to the next one, please. Like, I want to hope again. I want to speculate. I want to make things up in my brain about all the crazy stuff that's going to happen.
Yeah, dude. The best part of every Toronto Maple Leaf fan's season is the day before the season starts. And after that, the certainty of losing is 100%. But right before the season starts, plan the parade route. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks to the people on Twitch who are with us. If you want to find us, you can find us regionfreegamers.com or Patreon/regionfreegamers if you'd like to contribute to us in a more bank account related manner. You can find us on Instagram if you want to chat with us. We're at Region Free Gamers Podcast. And on Twitter, too, where because of the character limit, we are simply at Region Free Gamer. So, Anthony, Geoff, Arnie, thanks, guys. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks so much,
guys.